The Morning Show Murders, a Billy Blessing novel by Al Roker and Dick Lochte. One of the few good things about modern times. If you die horribly on television, you will not have died in vain. You will have entertained us. Kurt Vonnegut. Chapter 1. The big guy lumbered toward me, waving the cleaver, weeping like a baby. "Take it easy, buddy," I said. "No harm done." "I didn't mean to do it. I swear to God I didn't." "I hope not," I said, looking at the mangled, bloody mess he caused. "Why don't you give me that cleaver before you make this any worse?" "I'm a screw-up," the big guy said. He was close enough for me to read the little name tag on his white coat. All something with too many consonants. "We all have bad days, Eldon," I told him. "Just hand me the cleaver." He hesitated, then handed over the knife. He made a loud sniff to clear his sinuses, then used the sleeve of his white jacket to wipe the moisture from his eyes and the sweat from the rest of his face. I was sweating too. It could have been the heat from the television lights or the steamers or Eldon's incompetence with the cleaver. Probably all three. "I'm sorry, Chief," Eldon mumbled. "Chef," I corrected him. "Oh, right, Chef." Actually, it's Chef Billy Blessing. If you recognize the name, and I sincerely hope you do, you'll understand that I don't engage in a whole lot of on-the-job chefing these days, though I do run a popular restaurant on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, Blessing's Bistro, a New York Magazine pick. Tops in food and serves per Zagat, thank you very much. I have a line of savory prepared meals which you can find in the frozen food sections of better supermarkets. And there's a series of cookbooks, the latest of which, Blessing's Blessed Brunches, just went into a second printing, a New York Times bestseller. But people usually know me because I'm on TV. My own show, Blessings in the Kitchen, appears on the Wine and Dine cable network Thursdays at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and for reasons I've never understood, repeated at 2 a.m. on Saturdays. I guess if you come home drunk, the first thing you want to do is turn on the 42-inch LCD and watch me cook. And crucial to the whole Blessing mini empire, I'm a regular on Wake Up America, the morning news show airing weekdays on the Worldwide Broadcasting Company. I'm the guy with the food features, interviews, and the joke of the day. Viewers tell me I remind them of a stocky Eddie Murphy minus the mustache, the honking laugh, and the leather pants. I prefer to think of myself as a more accessible, less intense version of Denzel Washington. They also assume because our producer, Ernie Epps, has instructed me to keep a smile on my face, whether on my camera, that I'm always cheery. I'm not. At that particular moment I am describing, in the midst of a disastrous trial run for the new Wine and Dine series, it was 180 degrees from cheery. I turned to survey the other 9 inhabitants of the soundstage kitchen. They, like Eldon, dressed in chef coats, with most of their hair tucked under their white caps. Also, like Eldon, they were all very young, the exception being a beady-eyed 40-something gent who had the appearance and the odor of a greasy spoon fry cook. They'd separated themselves by gender. A male with acne was staring at me with the goofy adoration of a dependent dog. Another was nervously rubbing a mustache that looked like an anchovy's attacking his upper lip. A spider-brown mohawk partially tucked under a cap, the oily bottom spikes sticking out over the collar of his coat like the tail of a dirty bird. Yuck! One of the very young women, girls actually, chomped on gum. A pretty brown-skinned sister, who might qualify as a supermodel trainee, seemed more interested in protecting her long fingernails than in food preparation. A girl with a sallow complexion had little pieces of metal piercing her brows and ears, and every time she nodded her head, which was often, they caught the light and reflected it into the camera, causing a flare. God help her if she was ever trapped outdoors in a fighting storm. Breakfast was obviously the most important meal of the day for our fourth girl, judging by the tattoo of a fried egg on her neck. A fifth, another black woman, was showing more attitude than Wanda Sykes, but none of her humor. All were supposed to have had at least an introduction to the preparation of food, but my guess was that they wouldn't have known how to toast up a Pop-Tart. "Is there anybody who could split a duck?" I asked. The fry cook stepped forward. "No problema, boss. he said, taking the cleaver from my fingers. He approached the countertop chopping block where there were three medium-sized ducks rested. Two of them were picture perfect. The third had an ugly gouge and mangled breast thanks to Eldon's half-hearted use of the cleaver. The ducks had been cleaned and were ready to be seasoned with salt and pepper, rubbed with olive oil, and placed in a steamer with chopped scallions, shredded ginger, 6 tablespoons of dry sherry and oil. But first they had to be split. Make it a clean, good whack, I told him. Easy as spanking the baby, a man said. He drew back the cleaver and brought it down. It's a clean severing. Excellent, I said. Continue. The man shrugged and raised the cleaver again. He removed the neck and wings. Fine, I said. But instead of stepping away, he raised the cleaver leg. He lopped off the other leg before I could shout stop. His brow furrowed in confusion. But instead of stepping away, he raised his brow furrowed in confusion. The legs are supposed to stay on, I said. Sorry there, boss, the man said. Guess I'm kind of used to how we cut him at work. Where would that be? KFC on 42nd. Of course, I said. I turned to squint into the darkness behind the lighted sound stage and called out, Lily, if you're out there hiding, maybe speak. The show's director and my co-producer, Lily Conover, moved past the camera crew and emerged into the light. Lily was a small, wiry woman in her 40s with highlighted blonde hair cut in a short fluff. She wore cat's eye glasses, a plaid shirt, tight black jeans, and cowboy-style boots in height of some, no doubt, nearly extinct reptile. Pretty ugly, huh? She stated as the rest of my to the rear of the studio. You think Food School 101, a concept right up there with a singing cop shows your daddy and Brittany and Kevin chaotic. The idea isn't totally awful, Lily said, but we needed more time. This bunch is the best we could find on such short notice. These kids would have trouble microwaving soup, I said. Well, they'd probably leave it in the can, Lily said. And the so-called celebrity judges returned to the table where the three judges sat looking hot and restless. The most famous, an even former sex kitten whose only lingering fame was due to her vociferous belief in global warming, was trying unsuccessfully to keep the unpopular and some might say repulsive insult comedian from invading her personal space. The final judge, 300-plus pound food writer, was staring wistfully at the raw ducks. Let's send the comm center to send this crew back to KFC and point south. Rudy won't like that. Rudy, I said, sighing. Why did we even consider his lame idea? Why? Let me count the ways. Lily said. 1. Rudy Gallagher is a DeVos Industries vice president and executive producer of a morning news show we all know and love, Wake Up America. You may remember the name from your W-2 forms. 2. While Rudy isn't directly in charge of our little cable network, his fiancée, Gretchen DeVos, is. That would be the same Gretchen DeVos was the daughter of the owner of DeVos Industries. I know you've heard of her because you and she used to, how did the kids put it? Knock boots. Okay, I said. And 3, Lily said, not to be denied, your old flame has given the lovable Rudy's independent production company the green light on this pilot. So, okay, I said, point mate. Rudy is to be obeyed. We can sort of look around him, I think. Let's try, and could we possibly set our celebrity standards a little higher than the D list? Sure, she said, of course, that way means playing. Or in the money we have to come from our end. That's one of the things I love about you, Lily, the subtle but powerful quality of your arguments. So we stick these turkeys. But can't we at least find apprentices who don't look like fugitives from the sci-fi network? Rudy wants the show to skew young, Lily said, and he wants eccentric. I rarely get headaches, but this one felt one coming on. These kids can't even turn on a stovetop. How can we expect them to cook a meal? And the bozo with the mohawk. What's that all about? I repeat, Rudy wants eccentric, Lily said, which explains the gal with the tattoo on her neck. As I understand it, that's just the start of her body need. Sorry. Having no interest in the special, the day I smiled, then only fleetingly. How serious is this youth demographic thing? Are they going to ask for changes on blessings in the kitchen? You know the game, really, but for now at least they're focusing on Food School 101, and another reason not to just blow it off. You're right, I keep dancing on my watch. Nearly 6:30. Let's call this a wrap and head back to the old drawing board. Priority 1, better students. I'll put somebody on canvassing real cooking schools and colleges. Really promised. And forget the eccentric stuff. I can be eccentric enough for all of us. Your call, but Rudy won't like it. Let me worry about Rudy. Well, now's the chance, Lily said, putting her chin to point across the soundstage. But you may have to wait in line. Rudy Gallagher, tall, trim, immaculately dressed, was deep in conversation with the black praise supermodel. His TV camera, handsome face, registering concern for whatever she was telling him. What's her name again? I asked Lily. Melody Moon. Of course it is. Another of Rudy's proteges? I don't think so, though it looks like it might turn out that way. Rudy had the girl's right hand sandwiched between both of his and saying something that brought a stunningly bright smile to her face. Do you remember Miss Moon's age, by any chance? I asked. 18, Lily said. Should I go break it up? She's past the age of consent. Barely, I said. You should meet my Gramps, Bill. You two think alike. Today's 18-year-old girl is the equivalent of a debauched 40-year-old when you were a kid. I thought 40 was supposed to be the new 30. I said, that's the deal. Teens older and 40-somethings are younger. Now we all meet in the middle like Miss Moon and Rudy. Melanie Moon was handing Rudy Gallagher a tiny white card. He slipped it into his coat pocket and watched her walk away, a wolfish grin on his face. As soon as she joined the other contestants, he dropped the grin, turned and stormed toward us. Why the hell is everybody just standing around blessing? Time is money. Yeah, and a penny saved is a penny earned. We can throw cliches back and forth all evening, Rudy, but it doesn't change the fact that it's not working. What's not working besides you? These would-be apprentices, they're doofuses. That's exactly what we need, Rudy insisted. For Christ's sweet sake, don't you get it? I want American Idol in the kitchen. I want the contestants to look like idiots during the tryouts. The dumber, more inexperienced they are, the better. If there's one thing viewers love to watch, it's extroverted idiots who don't care if they look like assholes. I was too surprised eyes to reply. I'd been imagining a sort of game show where people might actually have to learn something about preparing food, and Rudy's so-called mind was an American Idol. Like, the problem, Rudy, is that these contestants are just boring, fence post dumb. Or not funny dumb or charming dumb. We didn't have enough time to round up the right kind of extroverted idiot. Rudy stared at her thinking about it. That could be he. Mused. I didn't hear any thick foreign accents. Accents kill the goofy kid on you could barely understand. The viewers loved him. Accents, Lily said, getting out a pen and jotting down a word in her notebook. Not for the first time I marveled the inability to involve himself in such nonsense without breaking. So you people are telling me that the concept is solid. Brady said. You just screwed the pooch by rushing it. You wanted us to get a pilot by going by the time you were back from Afghanistan, Lily said, but you came home early. Rita traveled to Kabul to oversee a week of live evening news broadcast on the WBC network, bigfooting the evening news producer to accompany the show's square-jawed voice in the well-eating news anchor, Jim Bridewell, and a bare-bones production team. The others were still there, but for some reason Rudy had returned after just a few days. How was it over there anyway? Lily asked. Rudy strained his handsome mug lightened into a seriousness. It was ghastly, Lily. Real gut-level suffering and pain everywhere you looked at bloodshed. A fellow at our dinner table had his throat cut out by a terrorist. My God, that's horrible. Not one of our staff? Rudy waved a hand airily. Oh no, he was just somebody we met over there. And he was murdered right in front of you? I couldn't believe he was being so blasé about it. As close to me as you are now. My God, it was horrible. What was the deal? Lily said. Why'd they kill him? He shrugged, opened his mouth as if to say something, and fell silent. We waited, expecting him to tell us more, but being Rudy, his thoughts had turned inward. You know, back when I was a fledgling in the 80s, I cut my production eye teeth in Gophering Ceasefire. Don't know if you remember, but it was the only series about Nam that went into its second season. It was pretty gritty stuff, but the real thing makes Ceasefire look like Hogan's Heroes. He punctuated the statement with a deep breath, with a shake of his head, and seemed to call a mental cut from his war-torn memories. Then it was on to the business at hand. Okay, suppose we hold a couple of citywide auditions. How much time do you need? Without batting an eye, Lily answered, a month for the auditions, maybe 3 weeks to edit the footage into 2 or 3 half hours, then another couple of weeks to shoot the first show. Reed turned to me. No way to speed it up a little? Lily's the boss when it comes to scheduling, I said. Okay, Reed said, but don't let me down again. He turned, started to go, then said over his shoulder, "Billy, walk with me." He looked at Lily, rolled my eyes, and followed him on his way out of the studio. "I'm an old hand at what works in the box," Billy told me. "They call it reality TV, but that's just another name for game show. And I know how the game show is played from the days of Let's Make a Deal to The Biggest Loser. Viewers love to watch the crazies, but they also want a display of skill. We'll need a couple of kids good enough in the kitchen to make a contest of it." "Mm-hmm," I said, sensing where this is going. "I was just talking to this gal, Melanie, I think she said her name was, one of your people." "My people." Ignoring the racist remark, I said, "Melanie, the pretty 18-year-old. 18? Really? I'd have thought 19 at least. Anyway, she is exactly the kind of final contestant we need. Beautiful, poised, ethnic. I'd go so far as to suggest she should be a finalist, one of the serious contenders for the great prize." "She didn't seem to be serious about anything but her fingernails," I pointed out. "Maybe, but if she were to get some practical experience at a restaurant, say, for the next month—" "You're asking me to put this kid in my kitchen?" "Just a thought, like an apprentice's apprentice. Work it out so she can do simple stuff. Boils, eggs, scrambled eggs. Gee, Rudy, putting aside the obvious fact that I'm running a four-star restaurant and can't afford to serve burnt steaks or insult my professional kitchen staff. But there's also the legal and ethical problems of training somebody for a cash prize TV show that I'm co-producing and hosting. Damn if you're not right, Billy. Now, damn if you're not right, Billy. Now that I think about it, it would be a lousy idea." A frown barely disturbed his almost ridiculously handsome face. God, what was I thinking, putting them together? No, no. Definitely forget the restaurant, but keep her in mind as a contestant. I found Lily in the cafeteria playing with a laptop. She looked up as I approached the table with diet soda in her hand. "What did the great idea man have to say?" she asked. "Not much. What a jerk." "Either that or he's a genius," she said. "American Idol in the kitchen." "Our own Simon Cowell," I said.